United Airlines now in more hot water following a major delay this weekend that left passengers waiting 17 hours for a flight from San Francisco to Colorado. 17 hours. This comes as the FAA says it's taking a closer look at the airline to ensure it's complying with safety regulations. That flight delay is just the latest in a string of safety incidents over the last 2 weeks, beginning on March 4th when a United Airlines plane was forced to make an emergency landing after a mid-air engine fire from Houston to Florida. Then on March 15th, a United Airlines plane landed in Oregon with a missing external panel. Then on Saturday, with that 17-hour delay. Joining me now is NewsNation travel editor Peter Greenberg. Peter, what is going on here? United says it has not been made aware of any final decisions by the FAA, but what do you think appropriate penalties or actions should look like against the airline?
Well, right now it's increased scrutiny by the FAA. That's not in doubt at all. No new planes can be delivered and entered service for United under the new scrutiny. No new pilots can be certified under the new scrutiny, and no new routes can be announced by the airline until the FAA approves it. The problem right now, of course, is the FAA needs the staff to be able to do that scrutiny, so things are going to be delayed all along the line. My guess is they're also going to announce new scrutiny on Delta and American as well. It will be system-wide.
Yeah, and when you talk about that delay, we've obviously been thinking about this story in terms of what United is about to face, but what trickle effect could this have on United flyers?
Well, it's not just going to be United flyers. Remember, we have to go back to the assembly line at Boeing. The FAA has slowed that down to a crawl, if not stopped it completely, which means none of the airlines that fly the Boeing planes are getting new deliveries, which means Southwest Airlines has already had to adjust its entire summer schedule because what they publish, they can no longer support with the number of planes that they have. United Airlines has had to suspend pilot training for 2 months because they don't have the planes to put them on to train them. So right now, what that means for passengers is, if you thought the planes were full last summer, get ready for planes that are even more full, if that's possible, this summer. And of course, an inevitability, higher airfares.
Yeah. And, you know, the other thing I've been thinking about, Peter, is that Boeing has been in the headlines for years now, and not in a good way. Many passengers have reported having anxiety about getting on a Boeing 737 MAX jet. Do passengers have any options if they refuse to board a Boeing? They show up to the airport, they realize that's their aircraft, and they don't want to get on?
Well, the airlines have been pretty good at letting them have options if the flight is not full on another aircraft. So, for example, if you're not going to be flying on a Boeing, you could fly on an Airbus 319, 320, or 321XL or XR, and they do exist. They do exist at United. They do exist at Delta. They do exist at American. And so you can find out the plane that you're flying on through any of the online travel agencies or calling the airlines yourself. So the airlines have been pretty accommodating about that. But one caveat here, that assumes that there's going to be space on that other aircraft. Right now, even now, spring break notwithstanding, it looks like all the planes are going to be full through the rest of the summer.
Okay, yeah, that's good to know, and for everybody to keep in mind who's traveling. We also know several airline CEOs are expected to meet with Boeing sometime this week. What resolutions, if any, do we expect to come out of that?
Well, it's interesting. You would think it would be a quite adversarial meeting between the CEOs and Boeing, but the problem is the CEOs don't have much of a choice. The order book at Airbus is already full, so they can't threaten to go, buy new Airbus planes when the delivery time is 3 to 4 years out. They're going to have to work together to try to figure out this problem and get the assembly line moving again with the proper inspections.
And lastly, before I let you go, the FBI, we now know, is sending letters to passengers who are on board that Alaska Airlines panel blowout flight back in January. I mean, we've all seen those images, identifying them as, quote, a possible victim of crime. What does that investigation mean for Boeing?
Well, we have to go back because remember, we had 2 crashes of the Boeing 737 MAX in 2018 and 2019. That resulted in a criminal trial. Boeing was able to settle that conditionally by paying a $2.5 billion fine, establishing a fund for victim families, but it was a conditional settlement. And that conditional settlement was based on Boeing not repeating that same behavior. That is why the DOJ now has reopened a criminal probe. And who investigates for the DOJ? That would be the FBI.
All right. We'll see what comes from the aviation world this week. Peter Greenberg, always good to have you. Thank you. Thanks for watching, everybody. Go to joinnn.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. Also, don't forget to click that red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.